In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, do souls make sense of it all? Or at least have fun trying? Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog.
Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy that is always ready to talk football, the chicken. What up, Doug?
Bring it on. Let's get it started. Week 7.
Wow, man, week 7. So you hate to say this, and it's kind of sad to say, but it's the halfway point in regular season. It's a sad day. Well, I don't know if it's sad. It's getting sadder. How about that? We're getting closer to the end.
It's getting sadder. More of these teams will be 6 games deep at the end of Saturday night. We're reaching the peak of the mountain.
That we are, my friend. That we are. But look, man, let's jump into this. We got a lot to talk about. And one of the first things, we mentioned this a few weeks ago, that the NCAA was looking at messing with the transfer portal. And we all agree, you and I both agree that that's the right thing to do. They got to fix the transfer portal. They got to quit doing this wild, wild west bull. And they fixed it, kind of. They have moved the portal to one window, and this is where we don't agree. It's from January, for at least for next year, for 2026. It's from January 2nd to January the 16th. So they gave us a 2-week window. I like the 2 weeks. I don't have a problem with the 2 weeks. But what I don't like about it is these teams are still in the middle of, some of these teams are still in the middle of playing. It's kind of goofy.
Yeah, you're not done with bowl season yet. You're certainly not done with playoffs yet. It kind of restricts, if you will, some of that flow for these guys. If they would just move it a little bit later in the month of January, I mean, we don't have to be waiting until, signing day in February and all. But just push it more toward the end of the month, I think kind of simplifies a lot for these guys. And the ability to make these decisions without the distraction of having to prep for a bowl game.
Yeah, I just don't like it. I just think I just don't think it's fair to the teams that are still in it and the coaches that are still in it, because especially at that point, man, I mean, you got teams that are really, like you said, are getting prepped for some of the biggest games of their lives. These kids, man, and I know it's not the kids that are necessarily worried. Some of those kids that are getting prepared aren't necessarily worried about the transfer portal because they're more likely either graduating, going to NFL, or they're going to stick with their same team, most likely, unless you're Nico. Then you always got one eye open.
That's right.
Looking around. So, but yeah, I just don't know if I like it or not.
Yeah, I just think that there's too much downside, not only to the player, right, that's trying to go back and forth in his own mind. Is he staying? Is he going? Is there a better opportunity elsewhere? But also to the team. If you are one of these programs that's prepping for, your first round in the playoffs, you got to know who you can count on. And if somebody's getting ready to announce, then you want to change your focus to something else really, really quick. So it's just too much of a hindrance, I think, the way that they've got it lined up right now. But I think the way that they're showing themselves, be it through the adaptation of the playoffs and the constant involvement there, as well as the portal and how we're going to handle all of this, I think they're starting to show that they can learn and they can make adjustments. So that's the silver lining, is that the NCAA is showing that they do have the ability to learn.
So, are you saying that the NCAA has attended the Chickens class?
No, I can tell you with 100% certainty that they have not signed up, registered, or attended to even audit my course. You'd see much more substantial gains if that had happened.
Yeah, I would agree. There would be some. I mean, the transfer portal window would probably be about 3 days wide. Um, you know, there would be a lot of changes done if they have actually taken the course of the chicken, for
That's right.
sure.
That's right. Don't talk about it. Be about it.
Also, I was just sitting there thinking about that, right? So, how does this play into the hands of teams that are already done? It actually plays into their favor because they don't have to worry about game preps. And I mean, you only have so many hours in a day, right?
Right.
And so these coaches and have got to be heavily involved in what's right in front of them, which is the games that are going on, right? So I'm wondering, how does this? I guess it could really favor those teams that are not that were either on the cusp or didn't get in at all and just got finished with a bowl game, or had made it out of the first or second round of the playoffs and they're done. I think those teams take advantage of that, and maybe that was by design. Maybe they don't want the top tier teams to have that also advantage. I don't know.
Well, if it's by design, it's a wink, wink, nod, nod, because then you enter into the delicate world of who's tampering, what's tampering, and are we going to chase after anyone that might be tampering with a current active roster? So there's that whole thing. But hey, it's not like we haven't paid these guys before under the table and done sneaky things. So we're just trying to make it legitimate right now. Again, I think that they're showing some signs that they're able to learn, they're able to work through these things, they're able to kind of read the field a little bit and say, that doesn't work as good as we thought it did. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Look, there's been a rumor, and I'm going to stress, I'm putting quotes, air quotes, rumor that ESPN is done with Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know if it's true or not. I can tell you that I would not be remotely surprised for them to make that type of a move. It's been no secret over the last couple of years, for those of us that have paid attention much longer than the last couple of years, but it's been more mainstream knowledge that ESPN went woke, and that they favor that whole side of the discussion. And I'm not here to tell you what side I land on. It's not theirs. But anyway, you know, whatever for ESPN. They're owned by Disney. Disney's got their own struggles with this whole ball game of what's woke, what's not, what do we want to say, what don't we want to say, and who don't we want to talk about. But the rumors swirl around the Disney parent company has told ESPN, and ESPN probably didn't have to be told twice, that they don't want Paul Feinbaum on any of their programming due to the fact that he's floating this idea of running, I believe, for a Senate seat or something in Alabama as a conservative. This is just a bad look. It's not like he came out and said, "Yep, I'm running, and I've already got this much support, and the polls say this and that, and I'm all but locked in." I mean, for crying out loud, Alabama has Tommy Tuberville, who once coached at Auburn, as a senator right now. So this is no great shock, and I don't see anybody raising Cain about, well, don't ever let Tommy Tuberville set foot on an ESPN set. They probably whisper that in the green rooms. But this it's a bad look. Like Paul Feinbaum, don't like Paul Feinbaum as the professional that he is. He does bring a lot to the SEC network. He's got his own show. He's a mainstay fixture on their Saturday kickoff programming on the SEC network. This is not a good look for ESPN, for the SEC network.
Yeah. Show me that you're non-inclusive without telling me.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is, man. And look, that's the problem. Not to get in, not to go down the rabbit trail of where we're at in this world when it comes to politics or anything else like that. But I think that's where we're at in this world is you're just not allowed to have your own opinion. And we've seen that in our own show when it comes to what we say and what we think and our predictions about certain teams and their seasons and so forth and so on. And we get some of these comments on our dog, we have those dog bark moments, right? We get some of these comments and there's some pretty hateful stuff that comes across there. I let it roll off my back. I mean, it's hard to offend a dog, right? You could beat us and we still love you, right? I mean, just ask Alabama fans. I still love some of my Alabama buddies, man. But they beat us all the time. And that just shows you, but this whole thing with Paul, man, just kind of shows us where we got to be able to come together, man. And it's okay to have a different opinion. It's okay to see things in a different lens that I do or you do or whatever. It's okay as long as we all come together and we love each other and respect each other, because at the end of the day, that's all that it matters.
Absolutely. And the whole idea of everybody being able to have their own opinion, I'll go juxtaposed to Paul Feinbaum, which is Stephen A. Smith, who's still on ESPN, still one of their big characters on their network. He's very obviously, he's come out saying that he's a Democrat. I mean, he's got his own disagreements with his party, but what Democrat doesn't these days? But, he's got his own stuff. He's floated the idea that he could run for office one day. Okay, cool, man. That is absolutely his free right to do as an American. I support his ability to come out and say what's on his mind, what's on his heart. If he wants to run for office and wins that said office, great. But I'll also back up real quick about Paul Feinbaum and say this. These things tend to work themselves out. If Paul Feinbaum, again, this is all rumor and an idea that he's floating that he could run for office. If he did and then won, you don't see Tommy Tuberville walking the sidelines on Saturdays anymore because he's got bigger things to do. And I think the same would be said for Paul Feinbaum. We don't want him on the SEC network or any ESPN program. Dude, if he wins office, I'm pretty sure you're going to get a resignation letter the very next morning, right? Like he may already have it written just in case. I don't know. But if we would stop overreacting, right, left, or whatever, and just let these things play out and respect each other as people, love each other as people, man, just think what a different place this would be.
Oh my gosh, man. If we would, whether you're a believer or not, man, but if we would just follow the teachings of Jesus, which is love thy God and love thy neighbor. It doesn't say the neighbor that you agree with politically. It doesn't say the neighbor that you agree with the same college football team. It just says love your neighbor, man. And that's what we're called to do. And if I think I'm hoping that we're seeing a shift in that within our country, because it desperately needs a turnaround to not only to Jesus, but it needs a turnaround just to love people, man, and respect people, because that's just completely gone.
That's right.
All right. I'll get off my soapbox now. Let's talk about the SEC and the upcoming games, because there are, oh my.
It's a big week.
It is a huge week. Is that how Trump was at? Huge?
No, he says huge. It's almost like a Y in it. Huge.
So, look, man, one of the oldest rivalries in college football, right? A number 10 Georgia, a 4-1 Georgia, 2-1 the SEC, has to travel to Jordan-Hare Stadium, the Plains of Alabama, and take on a 3-2, 0-2 in the SEC, Auburn. Georgia is favored to win that game by 4.5 points, and over and under is 46.5. I mean, I like Georgia in this game for sure. I am a little concerned with the spread. It's pretty tight. I thought the spread should be closer to that 10 mark, but does Vegas know something I don't know? Maybe.
I think that, and I like the spread. I like it being tight because I think that you cannot overlook that this game is on the plains. They're playing it at home at Jordan Hare Stadium. These two teams absolutely hate one another. Um, it doesn't get any better than this. It is the South's oldest rivalry between Georgia and Auburn. They are going to go at it. I like Georgia coming out on top in this game. I just think that they've got a little bit more of that something special in their recipe than what Auburn has right now. I think Hugh Freeze is still building this Auburn program back. It's taken a little bit longer, I think, than anybody, most importantly, Auburn fans would have liked to have seen. But I think they're on the right track, but I don't think that it happens Saturday against Georgia. I think Georgia comes out on top.
Yeah, I got a text from Taylor from OTC Kennels yesterday, and he was telling me that the spread was this. He actually thought it was 3 points or 3.5 points. I don't know if it's a move since then, some. But anyway, he actually likes Auburn in this game.
Wow.
And this is his reasoning. And I don't think I could disagree with him in this sentence. He says Hugh Freeze is due for one. He's due to win that big game. He's due to win that upset. And I mean, I hope he's not. I hope that upset comes in the form of the Iron Bowl, just not this game, right? But we shall see. I mean, like I said, I like Georgia in this game. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a really, really, really good game at 7:30. All right, this game right here is interesting to me because if anybody wants to go back when we had Senior Chief on this show to talk about Alabama's upcoming season. He was not. He even said, he goes, "I'm not worried about Georgia. Do I think we could beat Georgia? Yes. Do I think Georgia could beat us? Yes." He says the game that worried him the most was this one right here. A number 8 Alabama, a 4-1 Alabama, 2-0 in the SEC takes on a 5-0 number 14 Mizzou. They're 1-0 in the SEC. Alabama is favored to win that game by 2.5 points. Guys, they are playing in Columbia, Missouri. This is it's a hard place to play. And what does Senior Chief say all the time? He does not like it when Alabama has to play an early game. And folks, it is at 12 o'clock on Eastern. If you're an Alabama or Mizzou guy, it is at 11 a.m. Alabama doesn't like to play that early. I actually have Mizzou winning this game.
Wow. I've gone back and forth over what I think about this game. Columbia, Missouri is a very, and deceptively so, very difficult place to play. It gets loud. The fans are passionate. The team is on a tremendous hot streak. I do not like Eli Drinkwitz. I've never made that a secret. I just don't know if Ty Simpson is going to be enough. He is having a great year at Alabama. 1,478 yards to the air, 13 touchdowns to 1 interception. But this does kind of have that feeling of Missouri's going to come up with a play here or there to kind of come over on top. I like Missouri in this game.
Wow. Whew. That's 2 for Mizzou. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a very fun game to watch. There's no doubt about that. I think very, very fun to watch. All right. Ole Miss is taking a break from SEC conference play this week. They are hosting a 3-2 Washington State. Ole Miss is 5-0, number 4 in the country. They are playing in Oxford, Mississippi. They are favored to win that game by 32.5 points. I like Ole Miss.
I like Ole Miss. I think Chambliss has an opportunity to continue to shine. He's obviously won a lot of cred with old Lane Kiffin over there and running that Rebel offense. I think Ole Miss wins by a lot.
By a lot. I think so, too. I think Vegas might have that spread right. Chambliss is going to continue. See, Chambliss is also, not only is he just playing great football, but he is still, in my opinion, trying to make statements that he is the guy, and Austin Simmons, you're going to have to sit out until next year, pal. This is my team now. And I think that that's going to be no different in this game.
I agree. I think if he comes out and owns the Cougars on Saturday, I think that statement is made, and I think everybody rests well in Oxford.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, here's the next game. This is a game that I struggle with sometimes, fellas. Not in picking the correct team. Not in, oh my gosh, is my team going to win? No, it's just in the way of pronouncing what this game is. I get a little tongue-tied, so I am going to try my best I'm going to say it fast without complications. Are you ready? Here we go. At 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC, a number 6 Oklahoma, 5-0, 1-0 in the SEC, takes on an unranked 3-2, 0-1 Texas at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. It is known as the Red River Rivalry. Boom!
Nailed it.
That just happened.
Nailed it.
Look, man, I mean, look, might as well just go ahead and break it out, man. The news is right now that John Mateer is fighting really hard to be able to return in this game. And I'll say it, if he does, there's no chance of Texas winning this game. If he doesn't, there's no chance of Texas winning this game. I don't think that it matters at all. I think Oklahoma is going to own Dallas, Texas, the Cotton Bowl this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Texas has certainly filled the bill as the most disappointing team from the first half of the season, I think. Based on where they started the year, all the expectations that surrounded the program, certainly the expectations that surrounded their starting quarterback, juxtaposed to where we are today. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Last week we saw not only did Texas lose to Florida, but Arch just looked like he can't get over that hump. And at the same time, in the same week, my friends, we saw Nico rise from the ashes and put 5 touchdowns on the board for a winless UCLA squad to beat the then number 7 Penn State Nittany Lions. What are you talking about? Of course, they're the most disappointing team from the first half. I think Oklahoma is going to come in here with, I don't know, maybe Venable's granddaughter will play quarterback a little bit, and they are going to wear the Longhorns out. All the news points to the fact that Mateer is likely going to see some playing time in this game, but I agree with you. I don't think it's going to matter. I think the Sooners are just too much, and I think the Longhorns are just, sadly, not enough this year.
Well, I forgot to mention something. Texas is favored to win that game by 1.5 points.
Well, just color me shocked. I mean, whatever. To me, that's not enough of a spread to say that, well, maybe Vegas knows something. I think they're just trying to keep it close and get some more money coming in the door. But I think Oklahoma handles Texas on Saturday pretty easily. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout and over by the first quarter, but I think it's going to be a convincing win.
I think so too. And I have to say this because I think it's pretty funny. I mentioned this on the show sometime in August, I believe that it was. I think it was when we were doing the forecast show for Texas. I had just come back from Austin, right? Which I go to Texas a lot for work, man. So I just got back from Austin, and there is a store in the Austin airport that is all Texas Longhorn stuff. I mean, it's just it's just full of this mess. And before they had Quinn Ewers' jersey in there, and come August, all you saw in there was Arch. It may have actually been early in the year than that. I can't remember, but anyway, it was funny, man. I made the mention, out with the old and in with the new, man. Quinn is now an afterthought in Austin, right? And now Arch is the guy. Well, I'm in Austin right now. I stepped off the plane Monday, made my way through the terminal, and I come up to the store, and I happen to look over. It's on my right, and there isn't one Arch shirt or jersey in that place. Do you believe it's because they sold out? No, my friends, they pulled it.
Wow. Wow. Um, yeah. Well, I mean, what else is there to say at this point? He desperately needs some type of get right game. And I don't mean get a little bit right against Southeast Louisiana. I mean a get right game against top level conference competition. And to date, he's not shown his ability to do that.
Well, as it stands right now, Sark has come out and he is all in. He is still all in on Arch. I think that could change after this weekend. And if Arch goes down this weekend as they lose to Oklahoma's, which I think they will. Arch, if you're listening, Chicken and Dog, look, man, we're pulling for you. We don't want anything. We would love to see. We were anticipating the Arch Manning show. We were, man. We were excited for it. We were ready to see it. We are not anti-Texas. We are not anti-Arch. We're not anti-really anyone but Eli Drinkwitz, but that's a whole different story. But what we want, so we really want, but Arch, if you lose this game, for the love of God, grab your cell phone out, go to your calendar, and mark January the 2nd. Put a reminder. January 2nd is the day you could put your name in the transfer portal because, my friend, if you lose this game, I think that's where you're headed.
And you'll avoid the conversation we were having earlier because the way it's going, you're not going to be in the playoffs anyway, so there'll be no interference.
I know. So, again, man, Oklahoma is probably just going to have their way. But look, Texas, Quinn Ewers had their way with Oklahoma last year. They make Oklahoma look ridiculous.
This is not the Oklahoma from last year. Let's just be clear on that. There were a lot of teams that embarrassed the Sooners last year, and they're on a revenge tour so far this season. 5-0, 1-0 in the conference says such.
Yep. All right, look at here. A 2-3 Arkansas, 0-1 in the SEC is having to travel to Knoxville, Tennessee, Neyland Stadium to take on a number 12 Tennessee, a 4-1, 1-1 in the SEC. Tennessee is favored to win that game by 11.5 points. Look, man, I think Joey and Heupel are just going to continue to own their games that they're playing in. I like Tennessee in this game big time. There's just too much stuff going on in Arkansas. And I think Tennessee, guys, is a number 2 or 3 in the SEC. They're that good of a team.
Yeah, Tennessee is kind of the opposite. When we talked about Texas being the most disappointing team, I think Tennessee might be certainly, if not in the mix for the most surprising team based on what we saw coming into this season. We thought that they were going to be a dumpster fire. They have proven themselves to be anything but, with their only loss coming to Georgia so far this year. Arkansas has plenty of problems going on over there right now. Hate it for them, but it ain't going to happen this year that they bounce back aggressively from that. The whole interim Patino thing is not going to work out like anybody hopes. I think Tennessee absolutely rolls the Hogs on Saturday.
Yeah, I hate that. I guess my love or my fandom for Arkansas is kind of diminished a little bit because Sam Pittman's no longer there. But I think Tennessee is a heck of a ball club, man. I think you're right. If the only team I would put above Tennessee as far as a surprise is going to be Mississippi State.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
My Lord alive. And we'll get to them. I don't know if they're playing this weekend. No, they're not. But my Lord, they're a fantastic team. What a turnaround. All right, here's the next game. A 2-3, 1-1 in the SEC. Florida travels west on 10 to go take on a number 5 Texas A&M. Texas A&M is, listen, folks, they are 5-0. They are 2-0 in the SEC. A&M is favored to win that game by 7.5 points, over and under 46.5. You ready? Florida and DJ Lagway and Billy Napier go into College Station with the upset and beats Texas A&M.
Wow.
I think so.
Wow. Wow. I wish I could join you on this magical ride through fairyland. I think that win against Texas did a lot for the Florida Gators last week. I don't think that it did enough to get them over Texas A&M, as much as the Screaming Bobs annoy me to no end. I think the Aggies are still too much. I mean, we're not. Well, here's what we're not talking about. We're not talking about a clearly overranked and overrated Texas Longhorn squad so far this year. We are talking about a proven 5-0, 2-0 in the conference, number 5 Texas A&M Aggie squad that has proven themselves every game that they've played so far this year. I don't know. I like A&M to cover the spread. I don't think it's going to be a blowout win necessarily. And I think the spread kind of reflects that right now with where Vegas stands on it. I think Florida is able to keep this game relatively close. I think they look respectful, or respectable, I should say. But I don't think it's enough for the Gators to take a bite out of the Aggies. I think you're going to have to wait for another week for that kind of win for Florida.
I'm going to agree with you, man. Texas started out the season in the preseason rankings as a top 5 team. Everybody thought that that's where they're going to be. Texas A&M is sitting at number 5 right now. They have legitimately earned that spot as a top 5 team. They have worked themselves from way up all the way into that spot. They have done a great job. Elko is doing a fantastic job in College Station. I don't want to take anything away from that. I am not anti-A&M. Matter of fact, I was talking to a buddy of mine. Like I said, I'm in Austin. I actually went to a middle school football game last night. A buddy of mine's son was playing, and we were sitting there, and I told him, I said, "Look, man, he's huge Longhorns, and I said, look, man, A&M is going to own y'all. They're gonna wax you guys in Austin this year. They're going to embarrass you like you guys embarrassed them in College Station last year." And they were like, "Whoa!" And I said, "Look, man, Texas A&M is a for real team." They're like, "You just hate Texas." I said, "No." I said, to be honest with you, if there was ever a second team I was going to pull for in the SEC, it would be A&M. I'm not anti-Texas. I just have my first college game I ever went to. I told you this before. It was a Texas A&M football game, man. My buddy John took me, and that seeing the traditions that, even though you think they're goofy, the yelling traditions, the yell practice, and all that stuff, you find that absolutely goofy. I found that very intriguing because of the tradition that goes along with that, right? And then started learning that all these schools have these certain traditions, right? And that grew my love for college football. But yeah, I just think that if there's gonna be an upset this week, I don't think it's Texas OU. I think it's Florida over A&M.
Well, we'll see. Again, I think Florida could play well enough, and if they can manage their mistakes, they can keep this as a good game, a close game, and save it from being a blowout. But I don't think that they've got enough to take the Aggies.
All right, this leads us last but not least. All right, this is the last game in the SEC that we're going to talk about. 7:45 kickoff. I like the time. I don't like the environment. A 3-2, 1-2 in the SEC. South Carolina rolls into Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to take on a 4-1, 1-1 in the SEC. Number 11 LSU. LSU is favored to win that game by 9.5 points. This is a revenge game from last year, in my opinion, for South Carolina. I don't know if South Carolina has enough to win this game in Baton Rouge, but my gut tells me that they do. and I'm actually going to pick South Carolina to win this game to jump back into the top 25.
And that's what I was going to say earlier. You were talking about the prime upset pick being Florida over A&M. I think that this game is more likely to have your prime upset pick. If you take a step back and look at the respective schedules thus far for these two teams, neither one of them has really come out with a win over a big school, over a big program. South Carolina beat Virginia Tech in their opener. Whoopity-doo. LSU beat Clemson in their opener, who has shown themselves not to be very Clemson-like so far this season. South Carolina beat South Carolina State, as expected. Louisiana beat Southeast Louisiana, hopefully as expected. South Carolina has beaten Kentucky, and we can go on and on and on. But really, when you're talking about a 3-2 to a 4-1, a 1-2, and those two losses in the conference for South Carolina were to Vanderbilt, okay, who's only got one loss to Alabama, and to Missouri, who is currently undefeated. They're not bad losses. They're not good if you're a Gamecock fan. If you're trying to build up the respect that South Carolina feels like they deserve, it's not good to have a loss, but at least they weren't to dud teams, right? And LSU has not really performed the way that we thought from an offensive standpoint. It is in Baton Rouge. It is at night, and I don't care who you are, that carries weight. You do have Garrett Nussmeier. Now he's been nursing some injuries. How severe is it? We don't know, but his stats aren't Heisman-like. He's thrown for just over 1,100 yards this year, 7 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. South Carolina's defense is starting to gain some traction. I think there's opportunity here for that upset. I like the Gamecocks by a field goal.
Wow, I like the Gamecocks too, man. And look, you can go back and look at Carolina's losses. Sellers was hurt. Sellers didn't play against Mizzou, right? Was that the game he didn't play that they lost, and they put in Doty?
He got hurt during that game, and they put in Doty. But even then, they lost 29-20.
Yeah.
So it was still relatively close. But again, you lost to a ranked undefeated school. At the time, Vanderbilt was undefeated, and we say everything we've said about Vandy and Pavia. But, I mean, that kid plays hard-nosed football, and they came in and they owned South Carolina in Columbia that night. Don't want to take anything away from them. But, again, I do want to bring to light that this wasn't your South Carolina SEC of old where you drop to a team that you had no business dropping to. I mean, these are top competition games inside the toughest conference in the country. All that to say, I'm not trying to take anything away from LSU either. I'm trying to illustrate the fact and amplify the fact that these are two teams that are going head-to-head with relatively similar records. I mean, LSU's 4-1 overall, 1-1 in the conference. South Carolina's 3-2, 1-2 in the conference. They're going head-to-head. Somebody's going to get hurt Saturday with their feelings because they're going to come out with another loss, and the other's going to come out with a victory. I just think that South Carolina's in a great spot for the upset.
Yeah, and I mentioned Lenore Sellers, man, and yes, I think he's going to be a difference maker in this game. However, I think the guy that's going to shine in this game for the Carolina Gamecocks, if in fact they're going to win, if they win, I think you're going to hear Dylan Stewart's name a lot, and I think he's going to run roughshod all over that offense of LSU. And I think he could be the biggest difference maker within that ball team, within that game, that ball game, to get South Carolina to prevail. That's my thing. That's my thought.
Yeah, and as you would expect, Brian Kelly doing what Brian Kelly does, he's already thrown some bait out there saying that, we went up against that kid last year and all he's got is a speed rush. I think if Brian Kelly would have done just a little bit of homework, maybe called his buddy Stoops to find out what Stewart's all about, he would learn that there's a lot more than a speed rush. And when that speed rush connects with your quarterback, it makes for a pretty long afternoon. So I don't look for Nussmeier to be upright all day long.
See, man, and see, that's another thing that this is why This is why South Carolina. It's another reason for me that South Carolina is going to win this game. Is because of that comment that Brian Kelly makes. If you go back and you look at the great coach, and I say this stuff all the time, man. Shut up, and respect your team, man. Respect your opponents. If you go back and you listen to Kirby Smart, I'm gonna tell you right now, if South Carolina was playing Kirby Smart this weekend and the Bulldogs, and they asked Kirby Smart about what does he think about Lenore Sellers, and we had waxed you last year. Let's just say we beat you last year. Kirby Smart his words would be something really similar to this. Lenore Sellers is a very dangerous player that we have to really make sure that we contain the best that we can. We have to watch out for this young man. He's explosive. He would say something just like that. He will have respect for them. Brian Kelly's a punk for saying what he says. That's right, Brian. If you ever want to come on the show, I'll call you a punk to your face. I just don't like that, man. Yeah. Sorry, I got a little hot. You make me say something I don't want to say, dog. Anyway. All right, I digress from there. All right, let's. Friday, we have a game on Friday, which we like some of those games. It gets us ready for Saturday. And a number 24, 4-1 South Florida takes on a 5-0 North Texas and Denton, Texas, the Mean Green Machines. And let me tell you something, man. South Florida is only favored by 1.5 points. I like North Texas in this game. North Texas always has those sneaky great quarterbacks. Playing college fantasy football all those years, man. I loved grabbing a North Texas quarterback because they give you 1,000,000 points. I like North Texas.
The Green Machines quarterback has thrown for over 1,200 yards this year and 11 touchdowns, and I don't see any interceptions thrown yet. This is going to be a good game. I like South Florida in this game. I think that they hold on to that top 25 ranking by taking care of North Texas and giving them their first loss on the season. But this will be a good one.
It sure will. Let's see. Hang on, let me get to my next one real quick. There we go. I almost forgot. Sorry, guys. I'm a little unprepared this morning. All right, here we go. We got a 3:30 kick. A number 7 Indiana takes on. They are 5-0, 2-0 in the Big Ten. Takes on a number 3 Oregon that is also 5-0, 2-0 in the Big Ten. They're playing in Eugene. Oregon is favored to win that game by 7.5 points. Look, man. I think Mendoza is for real in Indiana, and I like Indiana.
I was going to say the same thing. I like Indiana in this game. I do think Mendoza has proven himself week after week after week to be a high-level performer, a very solid quarterback for the Hoosiers. I think Indiana comes out on top.
And he's won the Gooch.
He's won the Gooch, and he might – hey, I don't want to jinx it, but maybe there's another award for him. Just depends. I don't know.
So you say
it's a big ask. It's a big ask against the Ducks.
Yeah,
but yeah, they could be the first loss for the Ducks this year.
Woo. All right, here's another great game, I think, man. And they're not ranked. Well, one of them's not ranked, but a 4-2 Kansas, 2-1 in the Big 12, is taking on a 5-0, 2-0 in the Big 12. Number 9 Texas Tech. They are playing in Lubbock. Tech is favored by 14.5 points. The over and under is 58.5. I'm going to say it. I think Texas Tech loses this game. I know I've been picking against a lot of what everybody says, but Kansas quarterback, man, Daniels is doing really, really well, and I think that could be a difference maker. Texas Tech has been riding this high, and it may be time that they get knocked down a little bit.
Over the last couple of years, what we've seen with Kansas has been a relatively slow start, and then they start to surge. Daniels right now playing quarterback for the Jayhawks, almost 1,500 yards through the air, 16 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Yeah, I think that he's going to ball out on Saturday, and I think that the Rock Shock Jayhawk takes one to the Red Raiders.
All right, a 4-1, number 15, Michigan, 2-0 in the Big Ten, takes on a unranked 4-1, 2-1 in the Big Ten, Southern Cal. You're fighting prophylactics, and they are actually favored by 2.5 points. They are playing in LA. I like Michigan. I don't know if I'll ever pull for the fighting prophylactics in honor of my buddy, the chicken. And I like Michigan in it anyway. I think they're playing pretty good football.
I don't say this often. I probably have no need to say it a lot, but I'll certainly say it way more than I would ever acknowledge the other. Go Big Blue.
Yeah, Big Blue. Jeremiah Love, man, he's been playing good football, man. So I'm excited for those guys. All right. A number 18, 5-0, BYU, 2-0 in the Big 12, has to go to Tucson, Arizona to take on Arizona, 4-1, 1-1 in the Big 12. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to go against the grain again, man. Oh, BYU is favored by 1.5 points. I'm going to go with Arizona. I think that it's, the environment could push them over the top and get a win and become ranked.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that with it being that close of a matchup, now BYU is off to another great start, just like they had last year. But I think the Wildcats are going to prove to be just a little bit too much at home on Saturday.
That's right. And speaking of Arizona, a number 21 Arizona State, they are 4-1 in the. They're 4-1, 2-0 in the Big 12. Takes on a 4-1 unranked 1-1 in the Big 12 Utes in Salt Lake City. It's kind of funny that both Arizona teams are playing two teams from Utah, but hey, that's great. But anyway, the Utes are favored by 5.5 points. Over and under is 48.5. I give me the Utes on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Utes hold serve at home. I think Arizona State is having a great year. I think they're going to continue to have a great year, but it's going to take a little bit of a speed bump this week. Sam Levitt thrown for just over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. So look for Utah defensively to be opportunistic and come back with a couple of turnovers in this game.
All right, that leaves us one more game, man, to talk about. A number 1 Ohio State, 5-0 overall, 2-0 in the Big Ten, takes on a number 17 Illinois, the Fighting Curtises. They are 5-1, 2-1 in the Big Ten. Ohio State is favored to win that game by 14.5 points. They are playing in Illinois. Give me Illinois.
Wow. Man, for me, Julian Sayin has just been playing such great football. He continues to progress in his development as the Buckeyes quarterback. Illinois is playing an inspired season. Altmaier, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns through the air. I'm torn. Let me resource a friend, a family member, if you will, my Uncle Kenny. I hate 11 o'clock kicks, but why am I telling you? You all know how Uncle Kenny feels about 11 o'clock kicks. Nothing good happens that early. The Bloody Marys are just kicking in. Hell, I usually am not sure what has happened before halftime. The morning will come too early in Champaign, a pale Midwestern sun breaking through the harvest air, carrying with it the strange energy of an 11 a.m. kickoff. Football, at that hour, doesn't feel like spectacle. It feels like obligation, a blue-collar rhythm more suited to farm towns than television trucks. Ohio State is not built for mornings. The Buckeyes are designed for prime time, for the pageantry of night games when the lights carry the weight of legend. Their entire brand, their entire myth has been curated under the glow of television. Illinois has never had that luxury. The Illini play when the networks tell them to, in whatever window remains after the national powers carve up the schedule. Saturday at 11 is their time. There's another truth hidden in the record books. Ohio State hasn't been tested. Their schedule, glossy and gaudy, hides the soft underbelly of a team that hasn't faced real adversities. Victories against overmatched opponents tell no stories worth repeating. 3 weeks ago, Ohio State fans bragged about the Texas win. But what's left to love about that victory now? This has been a curated season, a postcard image where nothing goes wrong. Illinois, by contrast, is forged in something grittier. They've stumbled, adjusted, bled, and grown. They know what it feels like to scrape for relevance, to live on the margins, to play games that don't make highlight reels. They play with desperation, and that hunger cannot be manufactured in Columbus. The season Julian Sayin is building feels less like a freshman learning on the fly and more like the arrival of somebody who already understands how this game bends and breaks around belief. There's something in his looseness, the unhurried rhythm of his throws, that suggests he isn't playing against opponents as much as he is measuring himself against his own standard. That's dangerous for everyone else. Sayin isn't just having a good year, he's having the kind of year that reframes a program. Every Saturday feels like another page in a story we'll revisit for years. If Ty Simpson weren't thriving at Alabama, Kalen DeBoer might be looking north, wondering about the one that got away. Brett Bielema prepares his defenses with the patience of a man who knows the storms are coming. He strips the games to its bones, leverage, pursuit, trust, and makes his players live inside those details until they feel like second nature. He believes confidence isn't a speech, but a habit, built in the quiet hours of practice when nobody is watching. By Saturday, nothing is new. The noise, the lights, the weight of the moment, all of it feels familiar. His defenses step onto the field already weathered, waiting for the storm. For Illinois, this is an opportunity disguised as a morning game. For Ohio State, it is a trap. The Illini defense will be the first in weeks to challenge the Buckeyes at the line of scrimmage, to refuse the easy yards and demand something more. In that refusal lies the possibility of an upset. The most dangerous opponent is the one with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Illinois is that opponent. They will carry the resentment of being overlooked, of being treated as a time slot filler before the afternoon's real drama begins. And in that resentment is the seed of something dangerous. So when the bands strike up and the clock twists toward noon, Ohio State will discover that history isn't always made at night. Sometimes it happens in the quiet glare of a Midwestern morning, when a hungry team decides that reputation isn't destiny, and a giant can, in fact, be toppled. The Ohio State Buckeyes are walking directly into a buzzsaw.
Wow. Me and Uncle Kenny on the same page, my friend.
Sometimes he spouts such brilliance, it's just hard to go against. You know what, Uncle K? I'm with you. The Illini on Saturday over the Buckeyes.
Wow, you are too.
I'm a believer.
Yeah, the Fighting Curtises. I love it. Hey, man, I was sitting there. He did say something that I think is incorrect, but there's no telling how many Bloody Marys he was already deep in when he was when he was writing, or maybe he actually switched over to bourbon. I don't know,
It could
but
have.
he says that Ohio State doesn't do well at 11. They did beat Texas at 11 o'clock this year. Now I don't know if that carries any weight, seeing where Texas is at these days.
Well, I think that's what he alluded to, is how a lot of the Buckeye fans were praising that Texas victory early on, and that victory doesn't look like much special now.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's getting at.
Yeah, probably so. But look, man, I think it's going to be a really, really good, interesting game. If, in fact, Ohio State wins this game and Julian Sayin has another fantastic game, he has probably elevated himself up to maybe the front runner or right beside Carson Beck as an Heisman favorite. And I think that he has that opportunity. But will his youth and his inexperience, his young in the tooth, will it show up against Illinois? I don't know. We'll see. I think Illinois is going to win the game. I've been picking upsets all morning, so who knows?
Yeah, you're in an upset state of mind.
Maybe I'm just not. Maybe I'm upset about something. I don't know. Not that I'm aware of, but it's early and I haven't had any coffee yet. So
there you go.
There's that. Look, man, great weekend of college football. Really looking forward to coming back and talking about the games, when we do our results show, because I think there's going to be a lot of great content. I think there's going to be some upsets. There could be some changes that happen. Who knows? If Florida goes down to A&M, College Station, and gets waxed, is that the game that takes out Napier? I don't know. But we'll see. Maybe Art shows up in a big way and gets Texas a victory at the Red River rivalry.
Could. Who knows?
But anyway, look, man, love us, like us, share us, follow us on all the social medias. Subscribe to us. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell someone, tell your pastor. He would like to listen to us. I am sure of that. And that's right. I said he, but I digress. Anyway, look, Chicken, you got anything?
Remember, Jesus won, and I am all crowed out.
All right, guys. Love you. Deuces.
Bye.